Hey guys, we are back with another episode of In the Den. I'm AG, I'm going to be your host, and we have a lot to break down today. But before I begin, I just want to ask if you guys can subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a like maybe. That would help me so much. Thank you, and let's get into it. So, basically, we started off the morning with big news. In Cincinnati, the wide receiver duo of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, they're finally being paid by the Bengals. They are now the highest paid wide receiver duo in the NFL by far. So Bengals have apparently been working on this all weekend for these two deals, and they finally locked both of them up for the foreseeable future. So Jamar Chase gets a lucrative 4-year, $161 million deal with $112 million guaranteed. He played last season under his rookie contract, still under his rookie deal, put up over 1,700 yards and 17 touchdowns last season, and almost got a deal done before the season started, but contract disputes and all that really stopped that from happening, so he still played under his old deal, his old rookie deal. And moving on to T. Higgins, he played under the franchise tag last season, as before the 2024 season, Cincinnati and T. Higgins were having contract disputes, so he played under the franchise tag, and he put up good numbers. I mean, he had 911 yards, 10 touchdowns, and was also franchise tagged this season. He expressed his anger, I guess, on social media, and Joe Burrow definitely said a few times this offseason he wanted to keep the wide receiver duo in town, and he finally got a switch as T. Higgins now got a 4-year, $115 million deal, including the first 2 years fully guaranteed. And Higgins posted this when the deal went down 11/15, first reported by Adam Schefter. Last night he posted it on X or Twitter. So obviously that's a great move by Cincinnati. Obviously it really depends. I wasn't going to grade them on their offseason moves yet, because it was either going to be like an A or an F grade, depending on whether they re-signed their top 3 players that were in need of a contract, which was Higgins, Chase, and Trey Hendrickson, who is still without a deal and is seeking a trade. Is going to different teams. Cincinnati allowed him to go to other teams to seek a trade, but as of right now, they are working on a contract, on a new deal that will keep him in Cincinnati for as long as the wide receiver duo. We'll see what happens there. So obviously, I give both of these deals an A grade. I give them an A grade. Arguably, the best wide receiver duo in the NFL is staying with one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. After leading the Cincinnati Bengals to the Super Bowl just a few years ago. Obviously, they lost 23-20 to the Los Angeles Rams. But now that their top 3 out of 4 players are locked up, and again, we'll see what happens with Trey Hendrickson. And let's see if that defense will be addressed in this offseason or at the trade deadline, whenever it is. They will become Super Bowl contenders, and I think in the next coming years they will reach that stage again. It's only a matter of time before they win it, I think. I mean, what's really stopping them now? All they have to do is just stay healthy and just avoid a slow start, because that's what they tend to do. They have like a slow start, and then halfway in the second half of the season they start to pick it up, but by then, last 2 seasons they missed the playoffs after their Super Bowl run. So I mean, obviously, I think the future is bright in Cincinnati. So, great moves by the Bengals. In other news, the top 2 QBs that are still out available on the free agent market, Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. Now, let's talk about that. So, Russell Wilson recently visited on Thursday the Cleveland Browns, and he left their training camp without a deal. And then the next day on Friday, he visited the New York Giants' training ground, and he also left. He had 2 visits in the span of a couple days, and he still has no contract. So I'm not sure how those deals went. We're not sure how those deals went, how they presented to Russ. I mean, obviously he's still deciding because either team will be lucky to have him. I mean, he posted pretty good numbers for the first half of the season. And then, obviously, he kind of dipped in form when the Steelers lost around 4 or 5 straight, including that horrible display in the wild card against Baltimore, the division rivals. They lost the divisional crown, and once Pittsburgh gets their quarterback situation done, I think maybe they'll be back into the mix. I don't see Russ going back to them. Maybe that can always happen. I just don't think that's realistic enough because they said they would rather sign Justin Fields over him. But obviously, he's with the Jets on a 2-year, $40 million deal now, which I think is a great move, by the way, by the Jets. Young quarterback with a young core. But, again, either team would be lucky to have him, the Giants and the Browns. Obviously, they don't have QBs, really. I mean, obviously, Cleveland signed Kenny Pickett. Well, actually, they traded for Kenny Pickett, I guess I could say. I don't think they're going to really have to start him unless they're really desperate. Giants only have Tommy DeVito in their quarterback room. Obviously, that's not going to stay the same, whether it's through free agency or maybe a trade or in the NFL draft next month where they draft either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. I mean, if they go make a desperate move to go get the number 1 overall pick, other than that, I don't see them getting Cam Ward. I don't see him falling to number 3. So, I see Shedeur Sanders falling to them at that spot. So that's a more realistic option. I mean, they could still draft him and then get either Russ or Aaron Rodgers and just, mentor Shedeur. But, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens next month. I'll be reporting about that during the NFL draft. And going to Aaron Rodgers, he obviously had offers from the Steelers and the Giants, but he is considering turning them down for retirement. Now it's either retirement or he's waiting on the Vikings' decision because obviously they recently let go of Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold in the span of a week in free agency, going to the Colts and Seahawks respectively, and now they have J.J. McCarthy on their roster. So obviously they could bring in Aaron for like a year or two, and he can mentor J.J. McCarthy for like the first half of the season. They're gonna run that plan back again, like they were gonna do with Sam Darnold last season. Let Aaron play the first 6 games of the season, then let McCarthy go in there, do his thing. But if Minnesota decides they want to have J.J. McCarthy at the helm for most of the season, then Aaron Rodgers is considering turning down the Steelers and Giants offers and opting for retirement. I mean, the NFL is still waiting for his decision as usual, but we'll see what happens there. And another top QB that was on the trade markets, Kirk Cousins, is no longer on the trade market, per reports, as the Atlanta Falcons are deciding to keep him on their roster, and he will back up Michael Penix Jr. after he was benched Cousins for the final 3 games of the season in favor of Penix, who the Falcons took number 8 overall in the 2024 draft, just a few weeks after signing Cousins, obviously, to that gigantic 4-year, $180 million deal with $90 million guaranteed. But Kirk Cousins is reportedly staying in Atlanta and will get a $10 million bonus in 2026, in the 2026 season. I mean, that's good news for him. He gets to stay in Atlanta. He doesn't have to go play for another team. I mean, obviously, he wants to start. I just think that he thinks that he will find an opportunity to start, whether that's an injury to Penix or a dip in form. Because obviously, I mean, he did pretty okay. He did pretty good in his debut last season against the New York Giants, leading them to the win. But I mean, it's the Giants, let's be honest. But, the last 3 games of the season, he was pretty decent, Penix. We'll see how he develops through next season. Obviously, Kirk Cousins can show him a thing or two how to be a good quarterback in the NFL. Because Kirk Cousins, don't get me wrong, he is a good quarterback. It's just his Achilles is like, it's not even a function Achilles. It's like it's held up by like tape or something, by like glue. It's paper thin. I mean, his Washington days, Kirk Cousins' Washington days were decent. His Minnesota days were extraordinary from time to time. And then and then 2 seasons ago, he tore his Achilles, and then last season he said he was still feeling discomfort. Like sometime this offseason. I feel like he's just saying that to cover himself. I mean, he's staying in Atlanta now, at least for another season, and then next offseason, if they really want to, or if he requests a trade, they will try to find a trade partner, the Atlanta Falcons. I could see some teams, again, like the Browns or the Giants, and I'm just saying not for this offseason, but also for next offseason, if they try to draft a rookie quarterback either this year or next year, it really depends, and then they can get Cousins to mentor that rookie quarterback. I mean, Kirk Cousins is kind of in a dilemma right now. He's kind of in a dilemma right now between Atlanta and being benched in order for a rookie, but I think he will have a brighter future once he leaves Atlanta. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with him. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you guys subscribe and like this video. Peace out.